Well, hi there, and welcome along to Jump to It, brought to you by IrishRacing.com. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be talking all things Knavesmire with the last day of York's EARL meeting at a primary focus. Let's not forget as well, some very good stuff taking place at the Curragh on Saturday. As ever, to discuss all things horse racing here on the show, I'd like to bring in Stephen Harris and Vincent Finegan. Gentlemen, how are you, Stephen? How's your week been?
Yeah, really enjoyed it, Ed. I think this week in the EARL meeting is one of my sort of favourite flat meetings the whole season. York do everything right, don't they? They haven't overwatered. It's been good to firm all week. There's not really been any great track bias. We've seen some top class racing from start to finish. There have been some well backed winners. Obviously, Baid made it 10 out of 10. Fantastic Alpinista for Sir Mark Prescott. There have been some fantastic performances, and it's been a week without moaning, to be honest. I wish we had more midweek racing like this, because it's I know we can't have top class racing every day, but it's been a fantastic spectacle.
Of course, I say a week without you moaning would be a fantastic spectacle in itself, unusual. To be fair, I think. In fact, you say that, I went to Worcester for their big evening meeting, one of their flagship meetings of the summer on Thursday. Absolutely fantastic, absolutely packed. Brilliant racing. As I say, there was a £15,000 handicap chase in the middle of the card. Some of the big yard side runners, you should say. That was my first visit to Worcester Racecourse, is the reason I mentioned it. Yeah. It was very nice surprise, actually. Only an hour up the road, probably shows how lazy I am. But it was absolutely fantastic there. Vincent, yourself, have you been lazy? You've been getting out and about. How's the world of Vincent Finegan this week?
Yeah, it's been a good week. I actually played golf this week, which is something that doesn't happen very often with me. But it turns out I'm going to play again on Sunday, twice in 1 week. I won't know myself, but by next week I'll be all fit and trim. Yeah, been a great week. I've really enjoyed York, I have to say. Baid was special. That really is. You feel all along with these horses, they get a little bit overhyped for what they do, but that was a hell of a performance. Yeah. Mishriff is a very good yardstick. Put that to bed easy. The first time over the 1.25 miles. You'd love to see the horse go the 1.5 miles and see how good Baid really is, but we'll probably never get the chance, I suppose. It's hard to know what's going to happen there. It's such a valuable commodity for the owners, but it's been a wonderful week. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, speaking of wonderful weeks, we're going to go slightly off in a tangent here, but off air we were talking about an interesting story, I think it's fair to say. Now, go back to the topic of marriages, I suppose. I remember my wedding day. I don't remember my wedding day really, but anyway, no, a couple of days before it. Usually there's last minute panics of outfits or caterers or all sorts of things like that. But you have a bit of an amusing story here from the world of Irish racing.
Yeah, we did a good one last night in Killarney. The first race in Killarney last night, a nursery handicap. Like, you think you're getting married Saturday. What are you going to do? The man is getting married, Eddie Lenihan, the trainer. He's getting married down in Killarney on Saturday. So he decides to go there Thursday evening, first race in nursery. His horse is £7 out of the handicap. They back it from 18-1 into 15-8 favourite, and it gets up by a nose. What a start to the week that is, isn't it? Fantastic stuff.
I was going to say, all the things to be contemplating. I wonder if the potential bride was in the loop on all this.
I'd say she probably had her brains on it if the truth was known. I'd say the whole family, extended family, anyone they know was on this. They had to be with the money that was on it. Like, it was a proper punt. And to get up by a nose, what a special day that'd be. Could have gone all wrong on them from the start. But I'd say the wedding, the honeymoon, the house, the whole lot is covered out of the little bit of a punt they had. So it's fantastic to see. Great stuff. It's a real Irish thing, though, these big gambles. We've had a lot of them recently now. They've been hammering us, hammering the bookmakers with these big punts in the last week. We had a whole load of them all coupled in Tremor last Friday night as well, which caused a bit of controversy. A horse back from 100-1 into evens at one stage, and not beaten very far either. So it's a real Irish thing, the gambles. That's what we love to see. So there's been plenty of it this week, and that one was a particularly special one. For all involved, the best of luck to them with their forthcoming marriage and all the years of joy they have ahead of them. Yeah,
absolutely. As I say, if you're out and about in Killarney on Saturday, watch out. There could be some pandemonium, I think it's fair to say. But no, yeah, brilliant, amusing story, that one. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll stick with the Irish theme. We'll kick off with this week's upcoming races. We'll concentrate on the Curragh to begin with. Now, I mentioned there's some pretty good stuff going on at the Curragh, if you weren't already aware. On Saturday, of course, we've got Group 2 action with the Futurity Stakes kicking off at 3:10. Aesop's Fables, likely to be warm order here. Aidan O'Brien, Ryan Moore teaming up together here with this No Nay Never colt. Unbeaten, 1 from 1. And how do you sum up his chances here, Vincent?
But this is very unusual, Ed. Like, as I say, Aidan runs a couple in it, and Ryan Moore chooses this guy that won in Navan, won a 6 furlong maiden in Navan back on April 23rd, which is actually my birthday. But it's quite a while since we've seen this colt. The plan was that he was going to go to Royal Ascot, obviously, which most of the good ones do, but he never turned up, so he's obviously had a little bit of a setback. What's really interesting here is there was a 7-runner race he won. It's a 7-runner race. He runs in again this weekend, but a 7-runner race, and the 6 horses behind have all run since. Multiple times. They've run 14 times between them, and none of them has ever won a race since. So that's very unusual now for an Irish maiden, particularly at a track like Navan with an Aidan O'Brien winner. You'd expect that there was some reasonable quality in behind. There were certainly some good trainers at horses in behind, but none of them have won since. So that'd be a bit of a question mark for me. The gap since the horse has run, and the fact that the form really hasn't worked out, like it's worked out really poorly. In the race, we've got Proud and Regal, Dunica. Aidan's son has this one. Good horse. This Group 3 winner of the Tyros Stakes. It's unbeaten. It's had 2 runs. That Tyros Stakes, the 2nd and 4th, have won big races since, decent races anyway. One of them won a big sales race in Naas, and the other one went and won a listed race since. So Proud and Regal would look the more solid candidate, but then again, Aidan O'Brien obviously has some serious ammunition. The other 2-year-old race, another Group 2 we have on the day at the Curragh on Saturday, is the Debutante Stakes. Again, it's over 7 furlongs. This is for the fillies, and it's 7 runners again, which is little bit disappointing, I suppose. But you expect that in these group races. You tend not to get too many runners, but it's just a little bit disappointing that you can't go the each way play with 8 runners in either of these. They're both 7-runner contests. But we've a good filly in this, Meditate, which won the Albany at Royal Ascot over 6 furlongs, steps up to 7 now. It's unbeaten as well. This looks a hot contest. You've got another unbeaten one. It's only had the one run, called Thornbrook of Joseph O'Brien's, which was a Leopardstown winner. That was pretty impressive when it won that day. And we've got another one in here Michael O'Callaghan has, called Olivia Maralda. This ran in Royal Ascot, ran well, and then it went to Newbury, and it was a 7-length winner of a maiden. That's an unusual distance to be winning maidens by, so that could be anything. And just one last race to just mention, just because I'm going to tip a horse in it later on, is Sunday. We haven't got the declared runners yet. We're recording this on Friday morning early. And but there's a good sprint there, a Group 3 sprint, the Ballyogan Stakes. And Muniesta of Jack Davison's is probably the star performer in here. She's very good. She runs in all the top races. She was only beaten a short head by one of Johnny Murtagh's, Ladies Church is the name, but I think in a Group 2 in the Curragh the last day, it was also 4th in the King's Stand. So that's a high level of form. But there's one in here I have a little bit of a tip for, an English horse coming over, trained by an Irish guy called Patrick Owens. And the horse is A Day to Remember. And very consistent horse, never out of the first 4 in all of its runs. 2nd in a similar York contest last month. That's fancy to run well at a price. So that's the only other big race over the weekend. We've also got Killarney Continues on Saturday. So whether the wedding parties spill out into Killarney again on Saturday, I'm not quite sure, but it should be a good day's race in there. Jump action in Killarney.
Fantastic stuff. As you say, lots going on over the weekend. Interesting looking at that Debutante Stakes. Obviously, Meditate, 3 from 3. She's pretty much vying for favouritism for next year's 1,000 guineas at the moment. So obviously there'll be ripples in that anti-post market for good or bad, depending on what happens there. As you say, Albany winner up to 7 furlongs for the first time. The market suggesting it could pretty much be the banker of the weekend, I think, for many people there. Meditate in the 3:45 at the Curragh. Right, we'll head across the Irish Sea up to the north of England here for York's action. Stephen, we'll kick off with 150, which is, of course, the Strensel Stakes Group 3 action over, well, it's technically 1 mile and 177 yards. I think the extended mile is the phrase we use these days, isn't it? 8 due to Dakota Post. How are you making this one out?
Well, I think we're going to assume good fast ground, Ed, aren't we? It looks like they've missed the worst of the weather at this stage. Obviously, you look an idiot if it then pours down on Saturday, but I don't think they're expecting. I think it's going to be good fast ground, as it has been all week. I thought when I first looked at this race, it was around 3-1 the field, and I did think then that Mighty Ulysses was the standout form horse, progressing nicely, 6 career starts. 5 of them have been at a mile, and they did try a mile 2 at Epsom last season. and he didn't seem to stay. So Gosden dropped him straight back to him. So I suppose that 177 yards you're talking about is a slight concern. I actually watched that Epsom run back this morning. I think it was more the fact he was just wide and didn't settle rather than being a definite non-stay. And that was early days. I think it was only his second career start. So maybe the trip up. Now he's shortened right up. He's about 6-4, which is plenty short enough in a trappy race. He was my selection, but I wouldn't want to be taking less than 2-1 about a horse whose stamina isn't absolutely guaranteed. And when he won at Newmarket the other day, he didn't settle for the first 4 furlongs or so. He was still pulling, and I thought he did really well to win. He is a very nice horse. I just suspect he's going to need covering up and to settle. And when you've got all those things going on, he's not going to be a straightforward front-running Maycool, thank you very much, at York sort of ride. He's going to be dropped out to settle by the Tory. So there are risks attached. The other one I thought was interesting was Cadillac. Perhaps Vincent might know more about him. He used to be with Jessica Harrington, gone to Philip Art de Foy, who's a brilliant trainer, absolutely brilliant. He's improved a lot of horses this summer, and I thought he ran perfectly well first go for the yard last time out. He could improve still. He's 7-1. Maybe he's better value now than Mighty Ulysses.
Well, good time to bring you in then, Vincent. Cadillac one for you here, or do you think there's something else which could serve it up to the John Thady Gosden hot pot?
Yeah, I fancy the favourite, I have to say. I think the favourite is very solid form. 3 wins from 6 runs, not beaten far in the St James's Palace Stakes. Wins comfortably in Newmarket the last day, has Alpha Layla, which runs in the race again, 1.5 lengths behind that day in Newmarket, and that's won since and is in against it here, obviously, but it's hard to see that turn the form around. Cadillac used to be with Jessica Harrington, won 4 races out of 7 starts in Ireland. Decent level of form. The thing here with this Cadillac is, if you look at the betting on the race, you've got Cadillac at about 6 or 7-1. You've got Finest Sound at 10 or 12-1. Finest Sound is definitely a little bit of value here. There's nothing between the two of them the last day. They ran behind Grocer Jack at Newbury. So I'd have thought just at the relative odds, you'd be saying you'd prefer an each way play on Finest Sound than you would Cadillac realistically on that run the last day. But I still think the favourite's hard to beat, though the price is pretty short.
Okay, that sums up the 150, the Strensel Stakes to kick off proceedings on Saturday at York. On to the 225. Fairly different proposition here in the sense 13-runner handicap. All sorts of interesting plots and angles here, Stephen. I'm going to kick off. I'd be with the top weight here, Wild Crusade, going through the gears. Will Buick, Charlie Appleby. I mean, it's ridiculous. I was actually looking at the stats. Since January the 1st, the Godolphin team have operated at 33.2% for the calendar year. For August, they're operating at 38%. I mean, it's ridiculous numbers. I know they've got good horses, but it just gets a conveyor belt of success, isn't it? The Charlie Appleby yard at the moment. I just really like this individual. Up to an extended 1 mile 5 furlongs for the first time. Did it nicely at Ascot last time out. So yeah, Wild Crusade, not for me in the 225. Sorry, Stephen, over to you.
Yeah, fascinating run of the top one. And we're talking about strike rates. The trainer of the favourite, Haggis, I mean, he's been nudging sort of 40% for most of the summer. Absolutely extraordinary. Every time they back one of their horses, they just win. They've got Solcombe here, who's going to be extremely popular. He was good-wooded last time out. He never really landed a blow. His run got messed about, rolling around on the camber. He was probably a very unlucky loser. There's more to come from him, but there's a negative. Obviously, he's unproven at the trip. He's only 7-2, and he's got a car park draw, which isn't a lot of use. Even in these staying races, you've got to either swallow and go drop yourself right out and be last, which is never ideal at York, or use yourself up early to get across. So that's a dilemma for Holly Doyle. I thought Solcombe was short enough. He's a typical, unlucky Goodwood loser that we all get suckered into backing next time out, and it doesn't always work out. I thought Sheer Rock was interesting here. Eve Johnson-Houghton, who'd had a quiet couple of weeks, has bounced back with a couple of winners, I think, this week. And Sheer Rock, the last 2 times, has looked like desperately crying out for this 1 mile 6 trip, finishing strongly from well off the pace. Ran really well at Ascot on Shergar Cup Day, running on strongly again. He was handy enough there, but I think the 2 furlongs further will definitely suit, and he's 14-1. But I think this is honestly a race. I would fancy being a bookie in. The place terms are bad for punters. There's a lot of unexposed horses over this trip running. It's 7-2 the field. It looks all of that.
Yeah. Tricky old trappy race, but as you say, Sheer Rock's potentially bit of value there at 14 to 1. And obviously, I'd imagine bookmakers on the day have noticed it. Noticed it. It always happens, doesn't it? Suddenly the extra concessions come in late doors, the Saturday bonuses. So do shop around, check your each way terms. And what Stephen says is a bit of a tricky encounter. Anything for you in this one, Vincent?
Well, just the stats would tell you stay away from the top weight. That's the first thing. Top weights have a poor record in it. This Wild Crusade has to give £9 and more. As Stephen says, this is for 3-year-olds over a mile 6. They're all unexposed over this trip. They've never run over. There's only one of them has a run over this far before. Only one favourite in 11 years. I'd be staying away from the favourite, staying away from the top weight, and maybe if you want to have a little bet, have something small on one of the outsiders. We've got one Irish runner in this, Nuzret of Joseph O'Brien's. Mikey Sheehy rode it to win in the Curragh the last day. He keeps the ride. Nice young rider. Be interesting to see how he gets on in a big race like this.
Isn't Nuzret Salt Bay's restaurant in London? You know, the guy sprinkling all the salt on the giving all that.
Yes, yeah.
Your kind of establishment, I thought, Vincent. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, no, I don't get to London very often, Ed. Yeah.
Well, let alone state restaurants with which are £900 for a sirloin. Moving on, that was the Melrose, the 225. We'll move on to the 3 o'clock. Sorry, my computer froze a moment then. The City of York Stakes, 7 furlong action here. Group 2 contest on the cards. 10 due to go to post. Don't know about you, Stephen. Oh, this is pretty good, and it's equally head scratching. I was going through the official figures for this assignment, and they're separated by half a centimetre, aren't they? You could throw a blanket over many of these, and I basically went round in circles, came back to the same spot. Do you have something with more conviction?
Well, I actually do. This is my nap of the weekend. I really do fancy ROHAAN and Dave Evans. I know that Dave Evans wouldn't be your first port of call for sort of group races, to be honest with you. You're more thinking of sort of Lingfield and Southall plots, aren't you, and things like that. But Dave Evans perfectly capable. ROHAAN, of course, won the race I must have talked about more than any other race this season, the Woking at Royal Ascot, which has worked out probably the best handicap of the season. You've had Fresh, Mr. Wagayu. I was just looking through them to refresh my memory now. There's been winners galore. Jumby have come out of the race. It's been Franks. And since that incredible performance at Royal Ascot, ROHAAN has run 2 absolute blinders. I mean, in the Hackwood at Newbury, Holly Doyle made her only mistake in about the last 5 years, I think. She did far too much too soon. And ROHAAN traded long odds on, looked sure to win and stopped. I think he made up his ground too quickly. And then Deauville last time out. No fault of the jockey at all, parked on the wing, in a poor position, no chance at all. But we often take the mickey, Ed, don't we, off the sectionals people, but some very, very good sectionals people have been boring me, have been telling me all about the final sectional that ROHAAN did in France, and apparently it was absolutely staggering. And ROHAAN is around 7 or 8 to 1. Now, some people think of ROHAAN as a sprinter and probably a sprint handicapper, but he's got form over 7 furlongs in the past. He absolutely guided up at Kempton one day over 7 furlongs as a juvenile, so you don't have to look that far, but I don't think he'll fail to stay. It's just whether he gets any luck in running. He'll be dropped out and ridden very patiently to settle and see things out, but I think 8 to 1, 7 to 1 is a very fair price. I think he will go very close if he gets any luck in running.
Weird things going on today's show. You're not moaning and you're paying attention to sectionals, Stephen. I mean, crikey, you've really...
I'll be moaning in a minute, don't
I'd like to know what next week's show's got in store, but stopwatch celebrities, that's what they're also known as in the social media circles, aren't they? But no, like, jokes aside, some fascinating stuff there. This is a cracking contest, this one, Vincent. I said I've got no idea myself who I think wins it, but Stephen's made a good case there with ROHAAN.
Yeah, I think I can make a good case for another one in It's Sacred. 4-year-old filly, Haggis and Tom Marquand. This horse ran really well. Very good 5th in the Platinum Jubilee at Royal Ascot, which was obviously a highly contested Group 1. We're back to Group 2 level here. Was unlucky the last day in the Lennox Stakes behind Sandrine. Didn't get much of a run. The other thing to note here, for anyone who's looking for a bit of superstition around it, the last 3 runnings of this have been won by Shine So Bright, Safe Voyage, Space Blues, and we're due another S4 in a row. and I think it'll be Sacred rather than Sandrine.
Mm.
But we've another one in here, Dr. Zemp, decent performer. That looks overpriced. I don't fancy it to win, but I can't believe the horse is 33 to 1. This is a good horse at Ger Lines. It's ridden by a good rider, Gary Carroll, who's second jockey in the yard, but he's a very good jockey in his own right. Putting a tongue strap on it for the first time. I definitely think this is a wrong price. I can't believe it's 33 to 1. It definitely has a squeak.
Okay, Dr. Zemp, look out for the Ragada Field from the 10 due to go to post there in an intriguing encounter at 3 o'clock. Right, on to the big one. The Sky Bet Ebor handicap over the extended 1 mile and 5 furlongs is the 3:35. We have 24 declared, of which 2 are reserves, aren't they? So technically 22 going to post here. Stephen, can you kind of see the wood through the trees in this one? How do you think this is shaping up?
Well, I know, Ed, that we agree here, which is absolutely fatal. I mean, the first thing is obviously extra. There's a couple of reserves in here, so you probably need to wait till the morning of the race to play. One of those reserves could have a big bearing if he gets in. Not so sleepy, a horse we know really well from jumps. He's drawn low. He will lead at 1,000,000 miles an hour if he gets in. So the race could be run completely differently if that is the case. John Leaper, he's lost his last 10 races. Which is not something you want to say about a handicapper particularly, but he's run twice at York, and he bumped into Without a Fight twice, and I thought his run in Midsummer was so eye-catching. He finished so strongly from last to first. It was an Ebor trial, and it just screamed the Ebor. Now, since then, he's running a 3-runner race, and he then ran in a really muddling contest last time out when he only finished 5th. He is tricky. He doesn't always settle well, but surely in this huge field, from a midfield draw, Kirby up, he'll drop the bit, settle in. We know he stays. He loves fast ground. He's 16 to 1. I mean, if you can get 6 places, I'll be devastated if he's not in the first 6. I think he's bound to run well. Everything's in place. He is just one of those cliff horses. I'm sure we've talked about him a few times, and both of us have put him up over the last few months on various occasions, but he is 16 to 1, extra places. He must run well.
Well, I tipped him up for last year's Derby. I had Shane Anderson laughing at me for about 3 hours afterwards. Yeah, as you say, but no, he's always had a touch of class, hasn't he? I remember when he spread eagled that field in that listed race at Newmarket. He was always a horse I say he's probably got his quirks, probably the fair way of summing him up. There's clearly a lot of ability under the bonnet, and clearly been the target for some time, listening to what the Dunlop connections are insinuating. So yeah, I'm with you there. Well, I think you're doing us a disservice, Stephen. Last time we teamed up with Fresh, I think that was the.
Yes.
We cleaned up for the nap. So yeah, maybe John Leaper, the big one there. I also thought the bottom weight, or at the moment the bottom weight, Valley Forge, won the Melrose last year. Is probably one to. That's my 2v the field in it anyway. Vincent, over to you.
Yeah, this is a race the Irish have been doing very well in. 6 winners the last 13 years. We don't run that many in it, but we have a fantastic strike rate. We run 6 this time round, including the favourite, and this will be very hard to beat. EARL of Tyrone, trained by Paddy Toomey. He is a sensational trainer. His stats are unbelievable. His seasonal stats this season, 34% strike rate. You go into 4-year-olds and up, it's nearly 50%. If you take it, this is amazing when you think about it, right? Individual horses. Now, he has quite a few of them, right? But individual horses, if you take the top trainers in the UK, Appleby, Haggis, they're around a 50% strike rate with individual horses. Do they ever win a race? Aidan O'Brien is 44%, Joseph O'Brien 39%, Ger Lyons 38%. Then you come to Paddy Toomey, 65%. Nearly every horse he has in training wins. That's the bottom line. And this one is on a roll. It's after winning 3. It beat a good horse the last day. The other horse was very unlucky. A horse called Raise Me, or Raise You, it's called, which won the Ledger Trial at the Curragh last weekend. Raise You was unlucky in running in the race in Limerick, but this horse won well. It's a very good performance. The horse has been targeted for this. He mentioned this when it won in Limerick. Very surprised that this isn't there or thereabouts. I know it's not a huge price, but it's definitely, if you're doing any sort of combination bets or whatever, you'd want to be sticking that in. The other one in here, another one that's interesting, is a horse of Carl Thornton's. Robbie Colgan rides it, called Shanrow. It's a 20 to 1 chance or bigger. This was 4th in the race last year to Sonny Boy Liston, another Irish winner of the race. And it's £6 higher this time on the back of a recent win. It's got a penalty for winning recently, but you'd imagine it probably wants softer ground. That'd be the only thing, but not without a chance at a big price. It's a great race. This one of the races of the season. It always is. I love these big, long, staying handicaps. Nothing like it from a punting point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. All sorts of interesting angles in here, as you say. No, interesting looking at. Yeah, I was just looking at the Earl of Tyrone, as you said. The stats of the trainer absolutely ridiculous. Operating at 40% for August, and that seems the least appealing stat of all of his. Which is mind blowing
Yes,
figures
yeah,
really when you
yeah.
look at how
He's a bit
well.
out of form
Um,
at the moment. Yeah, he's only at 40%. Yeah,
I was going to
yeah.
say he's right up there. Yeah, ahead of Charlie Appleby and Haggis on the last 2 weeks across both sides of the sea. So yeah, fantastic, good stuff there. 6-1, available with Earl of Tyrone. As you say, you still don't technically, yeah, and each way price, I suppose. Yeah, check your each way concessions, check your place terms. Fascinating race. As Vincent alludes to, Irish have a very strong hand in this, and they have a very good record in this race. So won't be shocked if this one does go to the Emerald Isle. Right, that concludes the big business on Saturday. We'll move on to the remainder of the card, shuffling through them. Stephen, if you've got anything in the 410 you'd like to highlight us to?
Well, I thought regional was the form choice here, and 10-1. If you keep say extra places, blah blah blah, I think he'll be sure to give his run. He was so eye-catching behind Comanche Falls last time out, third of 28. He was very slowly away that day, and he did well to get anywhere near. The only thing is, I always start off looking at York races, Ed, by looking if they've run at York before, and he did run at York once as a juvenile and finished well beaten fifth, but that was on soft ground. He's never run on soft ground before or since, so that was probably the reason for that. But I thought regional, Ed Bethel, a trainer I really like, I think he's bound to run well.
Speaking of horses which were good as juveniles, we must all be able to remember Mum's Tipple
Mhm.
winning that sales race. Looked like the new Arazi, didn't it, back in the day? And it just didn't. Things didn't quite pan out. But Frankie Dettori seemed to get a good tune out of him last time up, back at 6 furlongs. That ended a long losing run. Of course, the distance form in the book up £6, but who knows? Maybe reinvigorated back at sprinting trips. Vincent, anything for you in the 410?
Yeah, well, Mum's Tipple, you couldn't rule it out. It won well enough the last day. A little bit workmanlike, I suppose, but it did win. It's only a week ago. And an 11-length winner of a sales race here back in 2019, which was
Never forget
exceptional
that.
at the
Couldn't
time.
believe
It
it.
looked unbelievable. Yeah, it really was. That was something to see on that day. So you couldn't rule out Mum's Tipple. The other thing here is this is really almost a repeat of the Stewards Cup. You've got the first, second, third, fifth, ninth, 10th, and 13th all run. So you've, as Stephen already mentioned, regional, maybe a little bit unlucky, finished third in that, but you have the first two, there was only a short head between them. Comanche Falls, which was winning that Stewards Cup for the second year in a row, and Tabdeed was second, only a short head in it, a length and a half back to regional. Other ones in it are Tinto was fifth, Summergand was ninth. You have Mr. Wagyu, twice a course and distance winner here, was 10th, and Gulliver, which is 3 times a course and distance winner here, was 13th. So they all ran reasonably well in that, and you'd expect them to be involved again. Some of them will definitely be in the places, no doubt about it. But Mum's Tipple, that's an interesting one, all right.
It is one for the romantics there. Yeah, if I'm sure you've all seen Mum's Tipple, but it was a sales race. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. I think Mike Catamol did the commentary over here for it, and it was in disbelief. I think Ryan Moore was booked to ride that day, and yeah, it was just blazed the trail. They did not see which way Mum's Tipple went. That was back in 2019, I think, believe it or not. Right,
Yeah.
4:45 listed stakes for the 2-year-olds here. 10 going to post. Stephen, any involvement here in this 5 furlong assignment?
Well, I think if you can get 2-1 about Rocket Rodney, I think that's a very fair price. I mean, 7-4 at the moment. Maybe you will on the day. Very progressive. Amazing winner at Sandown earlier in the summer, winning in the style of horses that never win on that sprint track at Sandown like that, basically cantering all over them, shaken up to readily go clear late. It was really impressive. The whole world was on Napo at Glorious Goodwood and bumped into Trillium, who looks like a top-class filly in the making. I think things slightly went wrong for Rocket Rodney. He saw a lot of daylight against this rail, whereas Trillium swept up the middle of the track. I think that form was by far the best in the race, and Trillium's form has been boosted this week at York by Swing Along, who finished well beaten 4th or 5th behind her previously, and come out and won twice since, including a big group prize at York. So the form reads really well. And I think Rocket Rodney, although he won at Sandown, I can see a flat track really suiting him. He's a real glider with a turn of foot. Hopefully they'll get a bit of cover this time and he can quick and clear of them late.
To say on official figures, has a fair bit in hand. Vincent, 4:45. Anything for you?
Oh yeah, if you're a favourite backer, if you like punting the short ones, this is one for you. This Rocket Rodney is very, very, very difficult to beat. should win, to be honest with you. Just a reproduction nearly of any of its runs, and it'll win. It looks head and shoulders above the opposition on what we've seen. I'd be very keen on this to win. There's one here, Treasure Trove, another Toomey Billy Lee one. She's won in Down Royal. She was only beaten a short head in the Curragh last week. Again, with his strike rate, you have to be wary. That won't be too far away. He doesn't over test his horses here. He generally knows what he has, and he runs them in races that suit. So if Paddy Toomey is running this here, it has a squeak. Whether it can beat Rocket Rodney, I would doubt. But having said that, you couldn't rule it out.
Absolutely. Keep your eyes there on Treasure Love, potentially the one to serve it up to Rocket Rodney. Right, on to the finale, appropriately named the finale handicap, 520, 10 furlong action, 14 due to go to post. We're not going to get that 16 for you here, Stephen, but I'm going to stop you a moment because you've been in such good form for the whole show. We don't want things to unravel now. Anything in the finale for you?
Well, I was looking to be against one here. I don't particularly fancy Phantom Flight. He's a very hard ride who was under pressure a long way out last time out and then plugged on. I don't think York will suit him at all. I think he could be exposed for his lack of pace. So he's 7-2. The one I like is Spirit Dancer of Richard Fahey, who's progressive, typical Fahey handicapper. They run themselves fit from a reduced mark and then bang, the cash is down and they win. And he was impressive over this course and distance. He's only gone up £4 for that. This is a better race, but he's got a good low draw. 7-1, he should go really well.
Absolutely. That one, horse number 6 on your cards there, Spirit Dancer, the son of Frankel. Anything for you in the lucky last here, Vincent?
I think it's probably wide open, but the two unexposed 3-year-olds, one of them, Stephen mentioned, Phantom Flight and Special Envoy. They both only run 4 times. They both won 2 of their starts. Phantom Flight a little unlucky the last day. I thought the 2 of them have serious chances in it. Wouldn't be surprised to see one or other of them win, but not a betting race for me particularly.
Not a betting race for you. I'm with Lycander here, or Lusander, horse number 3 on your cards. Rob Hornby and Rafe Beckett. Just an individual we spoke about at the top of the show. Course form on the Knavesmire. This horse has 2 wins at the venue. That's been placed on 2 other occasions as well. Seems to bring his best form, put his best foot forward when coming to the Knavesmire. So around 10-1, Lycander will do for me each way. Right, that pretty much wraps up the previews of the weekend action. Right, now it's time to nail the colours to mast with our tips of the week. Right, Stephen, it's only fair you lead off because you have been in wonderful form. Well done last week. The winners continue to flow. Where are we heading for this weekend's best bets?
I've stayed at York, Ed, for 3 bets. I really do like ROHAAN in the 3 o'clock, 7 or 8-1. I think it's a very fair price. I think you're getting a slightly bigger price than you might because Dave Evans isn't the sort of person people associate with group race winners. And ROHAAN has got everything in place to go really close after a couple of unlucky defeats. My value angle selection, 335. We're in agreement. John Leaper, he's lost his last 10 races, but he hasn't had many chances in huge field handicaps with a proper test of stamina on fast ground. And he's had a couple of sighters at York that should put him spot on. You can ignore last time. It was a silly small field race and he didn't settle. And my long shot is Sheer Rocks in the Melrose at 225. Unproven stayer, but you're getting 14-1 about your money, and there's lots of unproven stayers in this race. And Sheer Rocks has really looked like a stayer in the making. A couple of runs at Goodwood and Ascot recently.
Excellent stuff. Keep your eyes on all those good value picks there from Stephen. As always, Vincent, over to you, please, sir.
Yeah, well, the Nap is the one I mentioned, Paddy Toomey, Earl of Tyrone, and the Ebor. To say 6-1, you're probably right, Ed. Each way might be the play here because it won't be too far away. That's for sure. The Toomey crowd, they don't miss by far. If they do miss, and they don't often miss, that's the bottom line. So I'd expect a big run from Earl of Tyrone. Then for my value bet, I'm going for Sacred. Mentioned this before. It's filly. She's had 2 very good runs this season, particularly the one when she's only beaten a length by Native Crown in the Platinum Jubilee Stakes at Royal Ascot. I think that's a serious run in the context of this race. I'd be surprised if Sacred isn't there or thereabouts. And then the last one I'm going for, we haven't got declared runners yet, but I do know that A Day to Remember is an intended runner in the Ballyogan Stakes at Naas on Sunday. And the reason I know that is one of my colleagues, Tina Scargill, and her husband Peter are involved in the syndicate that own this, and they're very keen. They're all excited about the the filly coming over, she's very consistent, runs really well every time, never out of the first 4. And the word is in mighty form at home. So the favourite will probably be hard to beat if it runs Mooney Yesta. But outside of that, this is a wide open race, and they'll definitely get into the money by the way they're talking.
Fantastic stuff. Yep, used to work with Tina and Pete back in my days at the Racing Post. So best of luck to them and to you with that selection. Right, for myself, pretty much concentrating on the Knavesmire, but Newton Abbott takes centre stage. Paul Nicholls, Harry Cobden for my nap on Hell Red. It's a small field novice chase. This horse has been transformed by fences, and he's 2 from 2 and beaten at the track as well. I think we'll take all the beating there. Won't be a fancy price, but I'm hoping that one gets the job done. Then, as we said earlier on in the show, I'm totally with Stephen on John Leaper for the aforementioned reasons. Just yet to have a big field handicap to kind of aim at, a strong pace to aim at. I think should be right in the mix there. And then Lucanda in the finale, the final race of York's E-Ball meeting. Rafe Beckett, Rob Hornby team up, as I said, with a horse who has a very good record on the Knavesmire, including 2 wins there. So say course form can never be sniffed at the track. So that will do for me. Right, that pretty much wraps up proceedings. Before we go, Stephen, what's the weekend got in store for you?
Well, I think probably watching the racing. We've got a good card at Newton Abbott for you on Saturday. And I think I'm going to go to Sandown. They've got their Sunday series starting at 3:45. And some really good races. That is a good innovation. There's not any gimmicks. It's just good prize money and some cracking handicaps. And we've actually had rain here this week. I think it's good to soft in places at Sandown at the moment, which is absolutely incredible. That might say more about how much water's gone on previously rather than the rain, but I expect it will dry out and be good ground. But that looks a cracking card on Sunday as well.
Fantastic stuff. Yeah, always great fun down at the Esher venue. Vincent, for you, you can end up in Killarney basically after. That's what's going to happen after our chat, isn't it?
No invite yet to the Eddie Yelenihan wedding, but no, for me it's Golf Sunday. That's the big one. Looking forward to it. It's one of those golf classics, a scramble, so that should be fun. One of those ones you'd like, Ed, burger and a few drinks after the 9th, halfway around, just get you through the last 9. So really looking forward to that. Should be great fun out with a few friends. Yeah.
How is your golf game? Are you good tee to green? You got a good short game? Or you tee to car park a bit like myself? Like?
Yeah, none of them would be too hot now in my department. No, I'm not too bad. I can hit the ball straight. Don't hit it very far, but I hit it straight. Just keep hitting it straight. That's the bottom line. Yeah. No point getting involved with all that water and trees on the right and left. I'm not great out of sand, I found out in the last week or 2. Can't get out of bunkers. I don't know what the story is. I'm going to have to... I saw a little tutorial from Pádraig Harrington on the internet there a while ago. It popped up on my feed on some Facebook or whatever it was, Instagram or something. And he made a great thing about this, that when you're chipping out of bunkers, he said it's the easiest thing in the world to do. I'm going to have to go back and look at that again because I can't get out of them. I don't know what the story is.
Yeah, you'll be trawling through 9 hours of Pádraig Harrington tutorials then, I think it's fair to say. But no, it sounds good. Enjoy yourself. Make sure you have fun with that one. And the weather does look set fair, doesn't it? On both sides of the Irish Sea. Many thanks for you for watching at home on this week's episode of Jump to It. Of course, don't forget to check out all Stephen's selections on bettingexpert.com. All the latest news and features. You might even get an update on the golf as well on irishracing.com. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, please do gamble responsibly. We'll do it all again next week. Bye for now.